I'm excited to team up with my friends at the Botanist Gin again for this episode of Basics to celebrate Father's Day. I'm making surf and turf, so I thought it was appropriate to start off by making a martini highball, a refreshing summer riff on the classic Botanist martini. We're starting by adding ice to a Collins glass, followed by 1 ounce of the Botanist. The Botanist is a smooth, complex, well-balanced spirit that is made at the Bruichladdich Distillery, world-renowned for single malt Scotch whiskies. The flavor of the gin comes from 22 herbs and botanicals that are hand-foraged on Islay, a small island off the coast of Scotland. Next, we're adding 1 ounce of dry vermouth and 2 dashes of orange bitters. To finish, we're topping off the glass with some soda water and a lemon garnish. This cocktail would be great for toasting with your dad or someone special to you this weekend. Let's get down to basics. So I'm going to make a sort of 3-course surf and turf dinner, starting with a very easy surf and turf appetizer. I've got a half dozen dry scallops that I'm further drying by virtue of a paper towel, then wrapping with some strips of speck, which is just smoked prosciutto, so you could also use prosciutto. Securing in place, ideally with metal skewers, but wood skewers will do, and keeping an eye out for any scallop feet, this little flap of muscle that's sometimes left hanging on its side. It's perfectly edible, but a little tougher than the rest of the scallops, so it is often summarily removed. Next up, we're arranging these guys on a lightly lubricated rack set into rim baking sheet, one that is broiler safe because that's where they're headed. I also wanted to try arranging a couple lemon halves, hoping to catch a little char from the broiler, which can help mellow out their flavor. Everybody's getting dusted with a little bit of kosher salt, then these guys are headed directly under a broiler set to medium or low if your oven has that option, for 5 to 7 minutes until the speck is lightly charred, and the scallops register 125 degrees Fahrenheit at their thickest point. And that's all there is to it. Speck or prosciutto crisps up quickly, so you don't have to worry about overcooking the scallop like you would if you wrap them in bacon. Next up, we're going to really stretch the definition of surf and turf with cauliflower representing our turf. It does, after all, grow on land. I'm going to make a Sicilian cauliflower salad, first cutting the cauliflower in half, placing pyramidal slices along its triangular core, which then can be pulled out, and then half the cauliflower I'm going to separate into bite-sized florets, nothing bigger than, let's say, an inch in any given dimension. The other half, once cored, I'm going to slice nice and thinly. We're leaving this half of the cauliflower raw, so you want to get it as thin as possible. The other half, on the other hand, we're going to roast, tossing it with a generous guzzle of olive oil, and I mean really toss it, massaging the oil into every nook and cranny to ensure even browning. This is headed onto a rimmed baking sheet and into a 425 degree Fahrenheit oven for about 20 to 25 minutes, shuffling things around about halfway through. Then with 5 minutes left to go, I'm going to sprinkle these guys with a 1/4 cup of pine nuts so that they too can get a little bit of oven leaven before they go in the salad. Once everybody's all roasty toasty, we're letting this cool completely before proceeding to assembly. We're combining both the cauliflowers in a large bowl and then assembling a quick anchovy dressing to fulfill our surf side of the equation. Into a high-sided bowl goes a 1/4 cup of olive oil, 1 tablespoon of sherry vinegar, 1 clove of crushed garlic, half a shallot finely minced, about 1/3 cup of packed parsley leaves finely chopped, and 1½ teaspoons of anchovy paste or 2 minced and mashed anchovy fillets, a hefty pinch of kosher salt, a few twists of freshly ground black pepper, and using a tiny whisk or fork, gently beat this guy into a creamy emulsion. Taste for seasoning and we're good to go. So we got garlic, anchovies, and pine nuts. The only thing missing to make it really Sicilian is 1/3 cup of currants, but you could also use raisins. Pour our anchovy dressing over top, give everything a spirited toss, and you have one of my very favorite preparations of cauliflower. A good mix of roasty and raw flavors, a super rich dressing, pine nuts, and just a little bit of sweet dried fruit. I literally made this for a dinner party the day before shooting this episode. Now finally onto the more classic surf and turf. I'm starting with 2 lobster tails that I'm going to prevent from curling during cooking, inserting 2 wood or metal skewers right underneath its bottom membrane. I'm doing this because I want to reserve the shells for serving. I'm snipping off any excess skewer and bringing these guys over to a pot of just boiling water, where I'm going to poach them, that is, hold them at this barely sub-boil, where the water's just kind of spookily meandering around the pot, more gently cooking the lobster and keeping it from getting tough. Once their thickest point reaches 135 degrees Fahrenheit, if serving hot, these guys are ready to go, but I'm going to drop them into an ice bath, because I'm going to use them to make a sort of lobster salad that I think is going to be a nice contrast to our steak. Let these chill for 5 to 10 minutes, fish them out, snip around the outside of the bottom membrane to peel it off, then that big beautiful hunk of lobster meat should just jump right out. This stuff's getting chopped into bite-sized pieces, and then I'm combining it in a bowl with 1 stalk of finely chopped celery, about a 1/4 cup of fresh dill, likewise finely chopped, a 1/4 cup of mayonnaise, preferably homemade, the juice of 1/2 of 1 lemon, pinch of kosher salt, a few twists of pepper, and a couple splashes of your basic most hot sauce. Stir to combine the lobster with the dressing, and scoop it back into your reserved lobster shells. This gives it a very classic steakhouse us in the 50s look, which is very dad. Next up for the steak, I want to make a chimichurri butter. So I'm going to take the stuff that goes in chimichurri and put it in some butter. 1 tablespoon finely chopped oregano, 2 tablespoons of finely chopped parsley, 1 clove of crushed garlic, a 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flake, and 1.5 teaspoons of red wine vinegar. The vinegar's not really going to emulsify into the butter, but it is going to inform it with its flavor. Set this delicious stuff aside at room temperature to keep it soft. The steak I am simply sprinkling with salt generously on all sides and letting them sit for at least 30 minutes up to an hour and a half before cooking. Then I'm patting them dry, and for 1.5-inch thick New York strips like these, I'm going to drop them into a generously oiled, ripping hot cast iron skillet, first slamming them with medium-high heat until they have a nice char on all sides. Then once they've got some nice color, I'm turning down the heat to medium and gently finishing cooking them through. Normally I would finish these guys in the oven, but if you're also making the scallops, then you're going to be using your oven's broiler. So it takes some supervision and deft temperature control, but you can finish thick steaks like these entirely in the pan. For medium rare, I'm looking for 125 degrees Fahrenheit at their thickest point, because once we remove these steaks and allow them to rest for 10 minutes before slicing and serving, they're going to keep climbing another 5 to 8 degrees. To serve, you can optionally pre-slice the steak. This makes for an attractive option, fanned out along one side of the plate, and then we're smearing it down liberally with our chimichurri butter. Make sure to rest your steak on a warm plate so that it doesn't cool off too much before serving. Arrange the lobster salad alongside it. Place some totally gestural frisée in the center of the plate for better symmetry, some lemon slices for the lobster, and there you have it, my favorite steak and lobster for our surf and turf trio. My dad couldn't join me for this shoot, but I want to wish him, my brother, and anyone special in your life that you want to celebrate a happy Father's Day. Cheers. Thanks again to The Botanist for sponsoring this episode. I'm excited to partner with them again this summer to bring you more new recipes and delicious cocktails. The Botanist is distilled in Islay, Scotland by the same team who crafts award-winning single malt whiskeys. The same care goes into The Botanist, creating a complex and balanced spirit that is great in a martini or any gin cocktail. Stay tuned to the channel for what The Botanist and I do next, and head to the link in the description to get a bottle for yourself and try it.